Hello, good afternoon. How are you doing? Excuse me. Try and have it so that you don't have to stare at the top of my head while I am rolling yet another cigarette, the eponymous fag. So I've changed the title of my channel from the philosophy of biking hooliganism to the philosophy of fast riding. And what, you might be thinking, motivated me to do that? So, moving to Japan. That's happening as soon as humanly possible. Mostly to do with the borders being shut. Who would have thought that it would have come to this? An entire planetary system shut down to international travel because of a little bug. Couldn't make it up. It's the sort of thing you used to see in movies and novels. Imagine if that really happened. And then bam, it did. What a monumental shit show. Anyway, I digress. So this is a philosophical musing video. Moving to Japan, tied in with the title of my channel. Not that it's going to matter much, because who the fuck watches my channel? Who the fuck may be watching my channel in the future? Well, you never know. It may take off. The rain videos are exceptionally popular from around the world, but the Japanese ones seem to do very well. Pluviophiles, lovers of the rain. I sit and watch them for hours. Literally, I do not exaggerate. I can sit here with a hot beverage and a fag and just watch videos of people walking through the rain in Japan, various locations. I like the ones in the busy city centres at night. There's lots of people around, and then other times I prefer it to be in a country park where there's nobody around. Different types of ambience, I guess. But anyway, they're popular. If I go to Japan and make rain videos, maybe they'll be more popular than videos of biking malarkey. Who knows? It's a strange world full of strange people. But anyway, to do with my channel name change. See, hooliganism, it doesn't really go down very well in Japan. And in the West there's a certain level of tolerance for it, but there's a line. So if you're one of those typical louts, I'm not going to name particular types of motorcycle gangs or groups. Let's not go as far as naming them, but you know what I'm talking about. The cult of the individual, and not only the cult of the individual, the cult of the individual who feels he has the right to behave like a lout, up to and including inflicting violence on people, demanding respect simply because they're prepared to do violence. So get a gang of them riding a certain kind of bike, rock up to some venue, a pub or whatever. Somebody looks at them the wrong way, they don't like the way they're looking at them. Oi, who you think you're looking at? Haven't even spilled their pint, but they feel they've got the right to go up, get in their face, and if they don't like the response they get, which is supposed to be immediate, oh, I'm sorry sir, I didn't mean to look at you the wrong way, then have some have a fist in your face kind of ethos. So that's your ultimate biking hooliganism. Well, I've never been up for that. I don't like bullies, and that's what they are. They're bullies. They're thugs. They feel they've got the right to swan around, demanding respect simply because they're prepared to do violence to people who don't look at them the right way. Not into that at all, never have been. Going all the way to the other end of the spectrum, very, very mild hooliganism, which I suppose you could say is what speeding is. You're basically going, fuck off with your speed limits, I'll decide when I go fast, when I go slow. I'm clever enough and skillful enough to do that safely. There's a certain argument for that, to a point. The bottom line is, if it does come unstuck and you're going at an extremely high speed, you're more likely to do damage, you're more likely to hurt people. So there's an argument for speed limits. If you blanket speed limit everybody and everybody sticks to it, then statistically over a period of time less damage will be done and less harm to other people will be done. Nonetheless, if we sterilise the human experience to that point, you kind of think, what's the point of getting out of bed in the fucking morning? if I want to go out on my bike and tear it up a bit, if I do it safely and responsibly and nobody gets hurt, then no harm's been done. So, fuck off. Flip side of that, of course, is if there were no speed limits and there was no chance of getting nicked, it kind of take away a little bit of the fun of it. It's like the old days when you went hunting on the prairie. Wasn't it a little bit more engaging, knowing that some wild animal with claws and teeth might jump out the bushes and do you over? Gives it a little bit of je ne sais quoi, does it not? So there's that aspect to it. Hooliganism needs to have a certain level of consequence to make it more fun to hooliganise. I suppose there's a way of putting it. But Japan, you can't go to Japan and act like a lout. And I say you can't, well you can, but when you get your head around the reality that Japanese human beings, Japanese people, from the word go, from when they first go into a school, I wouldn't use the word indoctrinated, conditioned, lovingly conditioned to have consideration for their fellow citizens. You don't get that in the West, there's none of that. The West is the cult of the individual. And I suppose you could say that Japan is the cult of the collective good. So kids are educated at school. One of the first things they're not taught their ABC off the bat. They don't get taught how to do arithmetic. The first thing you're taught as a child in a Japanese school is to have a social conscience, to have consideration for others. I don't know if you call it a Buddhist ethos, kind of, I guess. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you, is a way of describing it in a nutshell. And kids are taught that in Japanese schools, and then they grow up to be adults. Obviously, if they decide to shuck it off, most of them don't. But as with religion, you can be brought up as a child in a highly religious family and indoctrinated with that religion. But as you become an adult and you've got enough intelligence, you can think about it and go, that's a load of bollocks, and just cast it off. There may be little Catholic remnants left behind, the guilt trip over sex, whatever. But you can cast most of it off. And the same in Japan with the social conditioning. You could cast it off. You could, no, fuck that shit, I'm going to be an individual, I'm going to do what the hell I want, I'm going to make as much noise as I want, I'm going to chuck litter in the streets, I'm going to spit on the sidewalk. But the vast majority of Japanese people don't do that, including the intelligent ones, because intelligent ones can see that it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. Call it indoctrination, call it suppression of the individual spirit. Yeah, to a point, there's an argument to say that. But by and large, it works for the benefit of everyone. People don't spit in the street, people don't chuck litter on the pavement. They do out of their car windows on motorways. There seems to be I don't know, there's a little loophole there. That seems to be acceptable behaviour. It's a bit weird. But by and large, the Japanese don't litter, they don't spit, they don't make loud noises, they don't do things that they know will upset and piss off other people. So where does that get to, or how does that pertain to biking and biking hooliganism? Most Japanese bikers don't fit loud pipes because of that conditioning they've had. A minority do, whereas in the West it's like, fuck you, loud pipes save lives, there's a justification for them, if you need one. In Japan, not so much. They're frowned upon for, I mean, you've got the bozozoku, Japanese biker hooligans who fit loud pipes and then deliberately ride around at 3 o'clock in the morning through the streets of Tokyo. May not be a thing anymore, I don't know, but when I was there it was. To wake everybody up and piss people off, that was part of the fun of doing it. And also carry big sticks, and anyone looked at them the wrong way, they could be attacked. I confronted them a few times, never got a beating, fortunately. But by and large, biking hooliganism isn't a thing to, promote or sanction in Japan. I don't want to be that person, portraying myself as a hooligan. I mean, what is hooliganism? I've mentioned a few of the things to do with it. The speeding, the loud pipe, riding around pissed. Oh God, did we used to do that in Japan? But everybody did it. In Japan, drink driving, drink riding it had become illegal, but it wasn't enforced to any noticeable degree. I was stopped a number of times, pissed out of my skull. When I say pissed out of my skull, I wasn't to the point where I was riding like dangerously. I wasn't out of control of my machine. But in England, I'd have lost my licence. In Japan, even though the copper could smell the alcohol exuding from my helmet, he didn't even mention it. Jesus. Now you can get done for having passengers can get done in a car if they go in the car knowing the driver is drunk. That's how much they've swung the other way on it. Driving under the influence or riding under the influence of drugs, that's hooliganism, and we've all done that. No, we haven't all done it. Lots of us have done it in England, having a few lines, having a couple of bevies, a mixture, a cornucopia of heinous drug abuse, and then getting on the back of a bike and spanking off. Yes, guilty. Not anymore. Don't do it anymore. I grew out of it. It wasn't just fun feeling it and doing it. It was also fun knowing that it was being done because I'm a hooligan. It was a kind of an ethos that gave pleasure to the mind, if you want to call it that. But in Japan, no. A little bit tipsy. I can see that happening, but getting proper pissed, doing drugs, and then herring around on a motorcycle, no, not going to promote that on my channel, in deed or in name. So the hooliganism part of the title has been changed to fast riding, which is acceptable in Japan. The police put out speed traps up in the mountains, the country roads, where it's the safest place to do it, and they'll give you a ticket if you've got a Japanese license. The amount of times I was stopped and they saw my permit, my international permit, and it's just like, there's no way for them to deal with an international permit. The one time they tried to, they wrote out the Japanese ticket in English and made me wait there. I think it was about an hour I was waiting while they wrote it out in full English and then served it to me, and by then I was fuming that they were keeping me there for an hour with this bullshit. 2 weeks later I got a letter through the mail where they just dropped the charge because it was not a regular thing to do. I think they did it just to keep me waiting for an hour, to piss me off. Maybe they didn't like my attitude. I failed the attitude test. It was like early hours of the morning, there was no traffic on the road. I thought, why are you pulling me for speeding? You're taking a piss, you're wasting my time, you're wasting your own time, what are you doing it for? So I had a bit of an attitude about it. But it's kind of accepted that guys on fast bikes will go fast, but they'll give you a ticket if they catch you. But it's not considered outrageously antisocial behaviour as such. So the philosophy of fast riding is the new name of the channel for the purposes of being a fast rider in Japan, where I will otherwise be a decent, responsible and socially aware citizen. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little blather. Thank you for watching and listening, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!